So, ladies and gentlemen, before we start this podcast, I want to put out a disclaimer before we start. There are going to be many people listening to this podcast. This is the first time they've heard about the term in NHL hip check. Okay. People over a certain age, people who grew up in the 1960s and 70s and into the 80s would know what a hip check is, but nowadays hip checks are not really looked upon as legal checks. They're looked upon as something dirty or whatever. But back in the 1950s, 60s, and 70s, the hip check was a learned skill that a lot of players had. And one of the best practitioners of all people was this tall drink of water from Winnipeg, Manitoba, a very popular player. And when we used to flip cards back in the day, we would always get confused with this player because everybody would flip him, but they would always want that player literally, physically on their team. A big hit in LA, a big hit in St. Louis. And Neil George Komadoski, better known as Neil Komadoski, was a big draft pick of the Kings in the 71 NHL entry draft, 48 overall. Now, he's the father of current Vancouver Canucks scout and former player Neil Komadoski Jr., even though their names are not totally alike, and that's, you can be a junior not of the same middle name. Now, he played for the Kings and the Blues in his NHL career. He hit the 500 a game mark, scoring 16 goals and 17 assists, and recording 632 minutes and penalties. He also played in 23 playoff games with the Kings, with 2 assists and 47 minutes and penalties. Now, he first came to major prominence with the Winnipeg Jets, the original Winnipeg Jets of the WCHL. Now, his draft year was his best, 39 points in 52 regular season games, including 15 goals. Now, 6'2" in that 200-pound range, came to major prominence really on the pro level. Played some really good games with Springfield in 72. Was a big part of the defensive core for that popular AHL team that year with 27 points in 64 games. Now, 73's rookie campaign put up some decent numbers, a goal and 8 assists for 9 points. Now, Komadoski, again, could do anything asked for him. He was probably one of the most well-liked players of his era by the coaches he played for, because he wasn't scared to go in the corner, wasn't scared to use that hip check, and wasn't scared to stand up for his teammates. He had his debut in the NHL on October 7th, 1973 against Pittsburgh, and after he moved to St. Louis, he finished out the 79-80 season with a game, his NHL career with a game against the Rangers on March 29th, 1980. Now, he also played left wing during his NHL career. Now, get this, he scored his first goal in the NHL from a sitting position on the ice for LA on January 31st, 73 at Pittsburgh. The goal, which bet the Penguins goalie Jim Rutherford, closed out the scoring in a 4-1 loss for the Kings. Now, he won the LA Unsung Hero Award in 75-76. And he also scored at 6:01 of the third period in his first game with St. Louis on January 17, 78 versus Toronto to give his team a 2-1 lead in a game that ended in a 2-2 tie. Now, he played on the great Salt Lake team that won the CHL regular season title in 78-79. He also played 12 regular season games for Salt Lake in 81, and that squad went on to win the CHL championship, but was not with the team during the playoffs. Of course, he was inducted into, I think, one of the most important Hockey Hall of Fames in the world besides the Hockey Hall of Fame, the Manitoba Hockey Hall of Fame in 2003. Now, his career was very interesting because he was eventually traded by LA, a very controversial trade, because he felt he had a lot given to the Kings, to St. Louis in exchange for future considerations, which ended up being Greg Therrien. Now, on June 13, 79, he was left unprotected by St. Louis for the NHL expansion draft, but it was later reclaimed by the Blues during the draft as a fill-in for Inger Hammerstrom, who was claimed off the St. Louis roster by Edmonton. Now, he remained in the St. Louis area after his retirement and went into the successful beer distribution business with the very respected Grey Eagle distributors. In 2008, after nearly 25 years with the company, he was promoted to the position of COO. And of course, Grey Eagle is the exclusive distributor of Anheuser-Busch products in St. Louis County and the largest beer wholesale business in the Midwestern United States. Now, he only had one major injury when he missed part of the 81 season with strained ligaments in his knee, an injury suffered while playing for Salt Lake in November of 1980. Now, an original draftee in the WHA for the Screaming Eagles in the first WHA draft in February 1972. Now, we're talking about hip checks. Get this, he played on defense with that great hitter Gilles Marotte as a rookie with LA during the 73 season. Now, when he left LA in 78, he had played the most games for the squad of any active Kings defenseman. Now, he was also selected by the WHA Jets in their WHA draft in 73 of established pro players. And like I said, he first started taking shifts at left wing for LA during the 74-75 season because, as you know, the Kings had needed a lot of toughness on the road. Now, he's been praised by numerous coaches throughout his career for having a great work ethic and attitude. Now, he was also a power play specialist with Springfield during that 72 campaign. Now, when he stopped playing Marotte, he put him on a great duo, one of the best defensive duos in Kings history, with Gary Sargent of all people during the 76 season. Now, again, was recognized throughout his NHL career as one of the league's best at delivering hip checks, and a lot of people paid for it, ladies and gentlemen. Now, when he was called up by LA in October 71, he was the youngest player to date on the Kings roster, but did not play. Now, his 165 penalty minutes in 76 were at the time the second highest season total in the history of the Kings. Now, very active in charitable work throughout the years, especially for special needs kids in Manitoba, which he really enjoyed during the summer of 1974. Now, regular season statistics, best season for many had to be 74-75, 16 points in 75 games, including 4 goals. Now, in St. Louis, he put up some decent numbers as well, but 1980's last campaign, 12 assists. Now, final NHL totals, 502 games, 16 goals, 76 assists for 92 points, and 2 points in 23 playoff contests. But again, the Kings team, 4 straight playoffs for them, 2 runs into the quarterfinals in 76 and 77, of course. And Komadoski, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, not a dirty player, but when he fought and when he put those hits out, it was an amazing energy, especially in the old Forum in LA. A very, very well-liked guy. Now, last I checked, he was still has a fan base throughout the States and Canada. So if any of the Komadoski fans, let us know with a like, comment, and subscribe. What do you think about him? But at 71 NHL amateur draft, 48 overall, that's a great respect to him. A lot of great players from that 71 draft. But it's funny, Inger Hammerstrom being involved in some of his history. But ladies and gentlemen, like I said, the very, very durable player. The only other injury, of course, is that torn thigh muscle, which suffered in the 71 season, and he recovered from it pretty quickly. But ladies and gentlemen, if Komadoski in 2022, if you had a player like him, not scared again of any situation, a fan favorite, and I would like to see him play at least one WHA season with the Jets, but he was so high demand with LA and St. Louis, again, nobody wanted to give him up. So that's the story of the very, very well-respected and a very talented Neil Komadoski. If you like what we're doing here, ladies and gentlemen, with a like, comment, and subscribe, let us know. And don't forget, requests are always appreciated and always, always considered. Thanks for listening. Bye.